The hangar was built to make beings feel small. Its ceiling vanished into darkness, pierced by rows of white lights that hummed like distant insects. The floor was cold metal, scarred by claw marks, burn lines, and dried stains no one bothered to clean. The air smelled of ozone and fear. Thousands of prisoners stood in long, perfect rows. They came from everywhere, tall, scaled creatures with glowing eyes, short, furred beings clutching each other for comfort, warriors with broken armor, scholars with shaking hands, entire worlds reduced to numbers. Chains bound their wrists, shock collars rested against their throats. Above them, floating platforms drifted slowly, carrying the Celt Dominion officers. Their bodies were thin and sharp like living blades. Their eyes never blinked. Their weapons stayed ready. This was roll call. It was not about names. It was about reminding everyone who owned them now. A voice echoed across the hangar, translated into every known language at once. Designation 479, step forward. A reptilian being hesitated, then moved. A scanner passed over its body. The collar beeped, approved. Another voice, another step. Some prisoners cried when their names were called. Some screamed curses, some begged. A few collapsed and had to be dragged back into line. The Dominion watched all of it with calm interest. Fear was data. Then the voice changed. Designation human, Terran origin. For a moment, nothing happened. Near the back of the formation stood a man in a torn gray uniform. His boots were cracked. His face was thin, marked by old cuts and newer bruises. His dark hair was matted with dried blood. One sleeve was ripped away, exposing a bandaged arm. His name was Eli Mercer. He did not move. He did not raise his head. He did not speak. The line around him shifted nervously. A small, feathered alien to his left glanced up at him, eyes wide. To his right, a massive insectoid warrior clicked its mandibles in warning. Humans were known to respond. They shouted, they argued. They tried to joke, they cursed the sky. Even broken, humans made noise. But Eli stood still. The overseer on the central platform leaned forward. Its elongated head tilted slightly, as if listening for something that wasn't there. Scanners activated. Light washed over Eli's body in bands of blue and red. His vitals appeared on alien displays, heart rate steady, breathing slow, muscles relaxed but ready. No panic. No aggression. No submission. The hangar felt different now. The quiet pressed down harder than any scream had. The overseer spoke again, its voice sharp. Human, step forward and state your designation. Still nothing. Eli stared at the floor, eyes unfocused, as if he were somewhere else entirely. The overseer's fingers twitched. Another scan ran deeper this time, memory patterns, stress markers, trauma indicators. The results came back incomplete. That had never happened before. Across the hangar, alien officers stiffened as their personal displays flickered. Symbols appeared in harsh red. Anomaly Dietiacetidae. A murmur spread, not among the prisoners, but among the Dominion ranks. They had fought humans before. Humans were dangerous, yes, but predictable. Loud courage, emotional decisions, short bursts of incredible violence followed by collapse. This one did not fit. The overseer descended from its platform until it hovered only a few meters from Eli. Its shadow fell over him. Human, it said slowly, you will answer. Eli lifted his head at last. His eyes were tired, deeply tired. But behind that fatigue was something else, something steady, something awake. I already did, he said quietly. The translator hesitated, then relayed the words. The overseer recoiled slightly. You produced no sound. Eli met its gaze. That was the answer. Silence exploded through the hangar. Not the kind of silence that comes from fear, but the kind that follows understanding. The Dominion did not rule by strength alone. They ruled by patterns, by knowing how every species behaved under pressure. And humans always reacted. Always. The overseer pulled back unsettled. A command gesture was made. Every display across the hangar flashed at once. Priority 1. Threat class undefined. Direct engagement prohibited. The feathered alien beside Eli gasped softly. The insectoid warrior straightened in disbelief. Priority 1 was not given lightly. It was reserved for war leaders, planet killers, beings who had forced the Dominion to rewrite battle doctrine. Eli Mercer stood quietly as the title settled over him like a storm cloud. He felt it, the shift, the way the air around him changed, the way eyes avoided him now, even among the guards. He understood why. Eli had learned something long ago, on a burning world with a red sky and screaming cities. Noise gave the enemy something to push against. Silence made them guess. And guessing got people killed. The overseer straightened, regaining its composure. Remove the human from standard processing, send him to evaluation. Several guards moved at once, weapons raised but shaking slightly. As they approached, Eli spoke again, his voice calm, almost gentle. "You should let them go," he said, nodding toward the prisoners. The overseer laughed, a thin, alien sound. "You are in no position to make demands." Eli's eyes flicked up, meeting its gaze without fear. "I know," he said, "that's why I didn't." The guards hesitated for half a second. It was enough. The overseer snarled, "Move him now." Shock batons pressed into Eli's back. Electricity surged through his body. Pain exploded across his nerves, white and burning. Eli gritted his teeth. He did not scream. As he was dragged away, the prisoners watched him go. Some felt hope stir for the first time since capture, others felt dread. The Dominion watched too. They had wanted a broken human. What they had found was something far worse. A human who had already decided how far he was willing to go. And who no longer needed words to do it. The corridor swallowed Eli Mercer whole. Its walls were smooth and black, curving inward like the throat of a giant beast. Pale lights slid along the metal as he was dragged forward, their reflections cutting across his face in cold lines. Every step sent pain through his body. The shock baton had burned deep, leaving his muscles shaking. Still, he did not fight. The guards noticed. They were Celt enforcers, tall and thin, their limbs ending in sharp, mechanical extensions. They had broken warriors twice Eli's size. Yet now their movements were tense, careful, as if the human might explode at any moment. "Why doesn't he resist?" One guard clicked softly. "Priority 1, another replied. "Unknown response pattern." Eli heard them. He always heard more than they expected. Years of hiding, escaping, surviving had trained him well. They stopped at a sealed chamber. The door opened without sound. Inside, the room was round and empty except for a single platform in the center. The air felt heavier here, pressing against the lungs. Thin beams of light dropped from the ceiling, scanning every inch of Eli's body as he was released. The door closed behind him. Locked. The silence returned. Eli stood alone. For the first time since the hangar, he allowed himself to breathe deeply. The pain was real. The exhaustion even more so. His body ached from old wounds and fresh ones layered together. He closed his eyes. Earth rose in his mind without effort. Not the war, not the burning cities. He remembered a river near his childhood home. Brown water, slow and wide. He remembered his mother's voice calling him in before dark. He remembered how quiet the world could be when you listened instead of shouting. That quiet had saved him once. It would save him again. The air shifted. A shape formed across the room, tall and pale, made of hard light and shadow. The Dominion's evaluation intelligence. Not a being, not a machine, something in between. "Human," it said, "you have been classified as Priority 1. Eli opened his eyes. "I know. You display no signs of submission," the intelligence continued. "Yet you also display no active hostility. This is inconsistent." Eli said nothing. The intelligence adjusted its tone. Silence is a form of communication. Eli smiled faintly. "Good," he said, "then you're learning." The lights brightened suddenly. Pain stabbed into Eli's skull as invisible pressure wrapped around his mind. Images flashed before his eyes, explosions, screams, broken bodies, faces he recognized, faces he tried to forget. The intelligence spoke over it all. "You will respond." Eli's knees buckled, but he did not fall. He had felt worse. On Carsis 9, when the sky turned green and the air burned your lungs. On Helios Station, when he hid inside a corpse pile for 6 hours, listening to soldiers laugh. Pain was not new. The pressure increased. Eli gasped once, then steadied his breathing. The images changed. Now they showed him standing alone against towering alien figures, losing, dying, failing. The intelligence waited for fear. It did not come. Instead, Eli whispered, "You're doing this wrong." The pressure faltered. "What?" the intelligence asked. "You think fear is what breaks us," Eli said slowly. "It is." "Clarify." Eli opened his eyes fully. His gaze was clear, focused. "Fear makes us loud," he said. "Makes us reckless, makes us waste ourselves." The pressure tightened again, angry now. "And what does silence do?" the intelligence demanded. Eli swallowed blood and answered. "Silence lets us choose." The room went still. For the first time, the intelligence hesitated. Data streamed across invisible systems, human history, human behavior in captivity, resistance patterns. It saw riots, last stands, suicide charges. But it also saw something else. Small moments, one soldier staying behind, one engineer rerouting power, one medic refusing to leave. Individuals who changed outcomes quietly. The intelligence dimmed the pressure. "You are statistically insignificant," it said, but the words lacked certainty. "One human cannot alter Dominion control." Eli leaned against the platform, breathing hard. "You're right," he said. "One human can't." A pause. "Then explain your classification," the intelligence said. Eli laughed softly, the sound rough and tired. "Because humans don't work alone," he said. "We just start things." The chamber door slid open abruptly. Alarms echoed faintly through the corridor beyond. A Celt officer entered, movements sharp. "Evaluation compromised. External disruption in Detention Sector 3. The intelligence turned toward the officer. "Explain." "Prisoner unrest. Coordinated movement, not human-led yet." The officer hesitated before adding, "But morale patterns show influence." The intelligence looked back at Eli. "You have communicated without action," it said. "Explain." Eli straightened as much as he could. "You put me where everyone could see," he said. "You labeled me, you watched me." And they watched you react to me," Eli said. "That's enough." The intelligence processed that. In the hangar, prisoners had seen the Dominion hesitate. They had seen fear. That alone was dangerous. The intelligence's voice hardened. "You will be relocated to containment." Guards moved in again, more this time. Eli allowed them to bind his wrists. As they let him out, he passed cells filled with prisoners, different species, different faces. Their eyes followed him. Some looked confused, some afraid, some hopeful. Eli met each gaze for only a second. No words, no gestures. Just presence. In one cell, a young, furred alien pressed a hand to the glass. Eli nodded once as he passed. The lights flickered. Somewhere deep in the facility, something exploded. The corridor shook. Guards shouted orders. Eli stumbled, caught himself, and kept walking. The Dominion believed silence meant weakness. They had never learned the human truth. Silence was not emptiness. It was pressure. And pressure, given time, always found a way to break something. They took Eli Mercer to a place the Dominion did not name. Names gave things meaning. Meaning gave prisoners something to hold on to. So this place was called Sector Null. It lay deep beneath the main facility, where the metal walls were thicker and the lights dimmer. The air was colder here, sharp in the lungs. Every sound echoed too long, as if the place itself listened. Eli was thrown into a holding cell alone. The door sealed shut with a heavy final sound. For a while, nothing happened. That was the Dominion's favorite trick, waiting, letting fear grow in the empty spaces. Eli sat on the floor, his back against the wall, hands still bound. His body trembled from exhaustion now that the danger had paused. His arm throbbed where the bandage had soaked through again. He closed his eyes. Not to rest, to remember. He remembered a night sky filled with stars before the war. He remembered laughing with people who were gone now. He remembered promises made quietly, not out loud. If I survive, he had told himself once, I won't waste it. A low hum rolled through the cell. The floor shifted. Eli opened his eyes and rose to his feet, just as the wall in front of him slid away. Beyond it lay a vast circular chamber. The ground was dark stone. The ceiling vanished high above into shadow. Faint lines glowed under the floor, forming strange geometric shapes that pulsed slowly, like a living heartbeat. This was not an execution chamber. This was a test. The Dominion watched from hidden platforms, their eyes and machines focused on the lone human standing at the edge of the arena. Subject Mercer, a voice boomed from everywhere at once. This is a survival evaluation. Eli stepped forward, chains removed automatically by magnetic release. No weapons were offered. Of course not. Duration, the voice continued, indeterminate. Eli looked around, studying the space. He noted the distance between walls, the texture of the floor, the way the air moved. Then he said, "You're wasting time." A pause followed. "Explain," the voice demanded. Eli rolled his shoulders, feeling stiffness and pain. "If you want to know what I am," he said, "don't talk, start." The hum deepened. The lights dimmed. Then gravity shifted. Eli's knees slammed toward the floor as the weight of his own body suddenly tripled. Stone cracked beneath his boots. His breath left his lungs in a sharp gasp. Pain flared instantly in his legs and spine. He forced himself to stay upright. From the walls, shapes unfolded. Drones, not the small ones used for patrol. These were larger, heavier, built for killing. Their bodies were sleek metal, curved and smooth with glowing cores at their center. Bladed limbs extended, humming with energy. 2 of them detached from the wall. Then 4 more. 6 total. The Dominion believed in efficiency. The drones moved. Fast. Eli did not run. He dropped. The first drone sliced through the space where his head had been a heartbeat earlier. Eli rolled across the cracked stone, feeling gravity fight every movement. His muscles screamed as he pushed himself up again. He saw something glint near the floor. A shard of broken metal, torn loose when gravity shifted. Eli grabbed it. The second drone struck from the side. Eli jumped forward, letting its blade pass close enough to cut fabric and skin. Pain burned across his ribs. He did not slow. He could not. He slammed the shard into the drone's glowing core. Sparks exploded outward. The drone shrieked, a sound of tearing metal, and collapsed to the floor. The watching Dominion officers stiffened. That core was shielded. Not against human hands. The other drones adjusted instantly, spreading out, changing angles. Eli breathed hard, sweat pouring down his face. His vision blurred at the edges. Not yet, he told himself, not yet. A drone struck from above. Eli dove, sliding across stone, then rolled to his feet and ran straight toward the wall. The drones followed. At the last moment, Eli jumped and twisted, planting his feet against the wall and pushing off with everything he had left. The drones collided with each other. 2 smashed together in a shower of sparks and twisted metal. The third recovered fast enough to slash Eli across the back. He cried out this time, the pain too sharp to swallow. He stumbled. Gravity pressed him down like a giant hand. The drone raised its blade. Eli saw his reflection in its smooth surface, bloodied, exhausted, still standing. He smiled. "Come on," he whispered. The drone lunged. Eli stepped into the strike, grabbed the bladed limb with both hands, and twisted. The blade tore through his palms, pain exploded, but the drone's arm snapped free. Eli drove the broken blade into the drone's core again and again, until it went still. Only 2 drones remained. The Dominion had stopped speaking. They were calculating now. Eli swayed, barely upright. His hands shook. Blood dripped from his fingers onto the stone. The drones circled, cautious. They had learned something. So had Eli. He looked up toward the dark ceiling, guessing where the watchers were. You're not testing strength, he said hoarsely. You're testing limits. No response. The drones attacked together. Eli ran. Not away. Through them. He slid under one blade, kicked the second drone's leg joint, then leapt onto its back, wrapping his arms around its core. The drone spun wildly, trying to shake him loose. Eli held on. I don't have limits, he growled. I have reasons. He slammed his forehead into the drone's core. Once. Twice. On the third impact, the core shattered. The explosion threw Eli across the chamber. He hit the stone hard and did not move. For a moment, the arena was silent, except for the hum of gravity fields. Then Eli coughed. He rolled onto his side, shaking, and forced himself to sit up. The final drone hovered nearby, damaged, uncertain. Eli met its sensors with tired eyes. Go on, he said softly. Finish it. The drone did not move. After a long moment, it powered down. The lights brightened. Gravity returned to normal. Eli collapsed fully now, lying on the cold stone, chest heaving. Above him, hidden screens flashed warnings and errors. Evaluation PARAMETRS EXCDD. Subject status unbroken. For the first time in Dominion history, a single unarmed prisoner had survived Sector Null. Eli closed his eyes. He did not feel victorious. He felt alive. And somewhere deep within the facility, alarms began to sound again, longer this time, louder. The Dominion had tested a human. Now the human had tested them back. Eli Mercer did not wake up to silence. He woke up to motion. A low vibration ran through the floor beneath him, steady and deep, like a giant heartbeat. The smell of metal and burned circuits filled the air. His body hurt in places he could not name. Every breath felt heavy, like his chest was filled with wet sand. He opened his eyes. The ceiling above him was unfamiliar, not the high darkness of Sector Null. This was lower, closer, with narrow lights running in straight lines. A medical bay, then, Dominion style, clean, cold, efficient. Restraints held his wrists and ankles to a metal slab. Eli tested them gently. They did not give. He relaxed again, staring up at the ceiling. His hands throbbed where skin had been torn away. His back burned. His ribs felt cracked, but he was alive. That mattered. A soft sound came from the side. He turned his head slowly. A small figure stood near a console. A medical drone, thin and silver, its limbs delicate compared to the killing machines in the arena. Its sensors flickered as it noticed his movement. Subject consciousness confirmed, it said in a neutral tone. Congratulations, Eli whispered. His throat was dry. You fixed me enough to wake up. The drone paused. Your injuries remain severe. Good, Eli said faintly. Means you didn't waste effort. The drone did not understand humor. It turned back to its console. Beyond the walls, Eli could hear distant sounds. Not alarms this time. Voices, shouts, metal striking metal, the rhythm of something breaking. He focused on that. Something's wrong, he said. The drone replied automatically. Facility operations remain within acceptable variance. Eli smiled, slow and tired. Then why are you lying? The drone froze. That alone told him everything. The door to the medical bay slid open sharply. 2 Kelt officers entered, followed by the evaluation intelligence projected between them. Its form flickered, less stable than before. Human, the intelligence said, you have exceeded expected survival parameters. I get that a lot, Eli said. You were not meant to inspire, it continued. Your visibility was a mistake. Eli's smile faded, his eyes sharpened. You finally see it, he said quietly. The intelligence's tone shifted, almost strained. Across multiple detention levels, resistance behaviors have increased. Prisoners reference you, your actions, your classification. Eli closed his eyes for a moment. He thought of the furred child pressing a hand to the glass, the looks he had met in the corridors, the silence he had carried with him. Humans tell stories, he said, even without words. The intelligence pulsed brighter. Stories are controllable. No, Eli said, they spread. A loud explosion shook the bay. The lights flickered. This time, even the intelligence could not pretend. The officers turned toward the door, weapons raised. A sharp voice crackled over their comms. Detention transport compromised, multiple species involved, human influence suspected. Eli laughed, then winced at the pain. Took them long enough, he murmured. One of the officers turned on him, eyes blazing. You planned this. Eli met its gaze. No, he said honestly, I trusted them. The intelligence shifted again. You will be terminated. Eli's heart rate did not change. Maybe, he said, but not today. The medical bay shook again, harder this time. A deep tearing sound echoed through the walls. The drone beside the console suddenly sparked, its systems overloaded. The restraints around Eli's wrists snapped open. For a second, no one moved. Then Eli rolled off the slab and hit the floor hard, biting back a cry. He pushed himself up using the wall, swaying. The officers raised their weapons. The lights went out. Darkness swallowed the room. Screams echoed from the corridor, not human screams, alien, sharp, panicked. Emergency lighting flickered on, bathing everything in red. The door burst inward. A massive insectoid prisoner filled the frame, its carapace cracked and burned, one arm missing. Behind it came others, scaled beings, furred ones, even a few Dominion drones damaged and repurposed, their lights glowing wrong. The insectoid roared and charged. The officers fired. Chaos exploded. Eli moved. Not fast, not strong. Focused. He grabbed a fallen shock baton, feeling energy hum through it, and ducked as a plasma bolt tore through the space where his head had been. The insectoid slammed into one officer, tearing it apart with brute force. A scaled prisoner tackled the other, claws flashing. The evaluation intelligence flickered wildly, trying to regain control. This is illogical, it repeated. This is illogical. Eli stepped toward it, baton crackling in his hand. Welcome to humans, he said. He swung. The baton passed through the projected form, disrupting its field. The intelligence screamed as its image fractured, breaking into shards of light. Outside, alarms finally rose, full, urgent, and desperate. The rebellion was no longer contained. Eli staggered into the corridor with the others. Smoke filled the air. Fires burned along the walls. Prison doors stood open, their occupants pouring out like a flood. They did not run blindly. They moved with purpose. Eli saw it in their eyes. Hope. Fear was still there, pain too, but something new burned beneath it. Belief. A furred alien darted up to him, clutching a stolen weapon. Human, it said breathlessly. They listen to you. Eli shook his head. No, he said, they listen to themselves. Another explosion rocked the corridor. Somewhere above, heavy doors slammed shut. The Dominion was sealing sections, trying to cut the uprising apart. Eli scanned the signs, the markings, the flow of movement. We need the transports, he said. They'll try to evacuate command staff first. How do you know? The insectoid rumbled. Eli looked back at the burning facility. Because that's what I do, he said. They moved together now, a mixed mass of species that had once stood in silent rows. They fought, stumbled, helped each other up. No one waited for orders. They did not need them. As they reached a junction, Dominion troops poured in from the far end, weapons raised, armor gleaming. The prisoners hesitated. Just for a second. Eli stepped forward. He did not shout. He did not raise his weapon. He simply stood, bloody and unbroken, and met the enemy's gaze. Not today, he said softly. The prisoners surged past him. The fight was brutal, short, desperate. And through it all, one truth became clear. The Dominion had ruled by control. But control broke easily. All it took was one human who refused to be silent in the way they expected. And once the silence cracked, everything else followed. The corridors shook as if the facility itself was afraid. Metal screamed under stress. Pipes burst, spraying steam and fire. Emergency lights painted everything in red, turning blood and shadows into the same color. The sound of battle echoed from every direction, blaster fire, alien cries, the crash of bodies against walls. Eli Mercer moved through it all like a man, walking through a storm he had already accepted. His body was failing him, every step sent pain through his legs. His hands were numb from burns and cuts, his vision blurred at the edges, but his mind was clear. Too clear. They reached the main transit hub, just as the blast doors began to lower. "Move," someone shouted. Prisoners surged forward. Some slipped through before the doors slammed down. Others were trapped on the wrong side, pounding on the metal as Dominion troops closed in. Eli turned back. He saw fear there, real fear, not for themselves, but for those left behind. He knew that look. "I'll get them open," he said. The insectoid warrior grabbed his arm carefully. "Human, you will die." Eli met its many eyes and nodded once. "I know." He stepped away before anyone could argue. The control panel beside the blast doors sparked wildly, half destroyed by weapons fire. Eli tore it open with shaking hands, wires spilling out like veins. Blaster fire struck the wall near his head. Dominion soldiers advanced down the corridor, their formation tight and disciplined. "Cover him," someone yelled. Prisoners returned fire, doing their best, but they were outgunned and untrained. Eli ignored the noise. He remembered something an old engineer once told him on a ruined station. "Machines don't care what you want. They only care what you convince them to do." He ripped a power conduit free and slammed it into the panel. The blast doors groaned. Slowly, agonizingly, they began to rise. The trapped prisoners ran through, some crying, some laughing in disbelief. A plasma bolt struck Eli's side. He cried out and fell to one knee. The doors were halfway open. Another bolt tore into his shoulder, spinning him around. He slammed against the panel, vision exploding in white light. The insectoid roared and charged the Dominion line, buying seconds with its life. Eli forced himself upright. "Come on," he whispered, "come on." The doors locked open. Cheers erupted. Hands grabbed Eli, pulling him back as Dominion fire intensified. Someone dragged him behind cover. "You did it," a scaled alien said, voice shaking. Eli smiled weakly. "Good." But he knew the truth. This was not over. A deep tremor ran through the floor, stronger than before. Overhead, a new alarm sounded, lower, slower, far more dangerous. A transport officer's voice echoed through the hub. "Warning, command evacuation protocol initiated." Eli felt cold. "They're leaving," he said. "What?" someone asked. "The Dominion," Eli continued. "They're abandoning the facility." Relief flashed across several faces. Eli shook his head. "That means they'll destroy it." Silence fell. Everyone understood. This place held tens of thousands of prisoners. Not all had escaped yet. Not all even knew a rebellion had started. "If the command ship jumps," Eli said quietly, "this station becomes a grave." The furred alien who had followed him since the medical wing stared at him. "Then we must stop them." Eli looked toward the massive viewing window at the far end of the hub. Beyond it, the stars were visible. And drifting above the station, docked like a predator ready to leap, was the Dominion command ship. Huge, armored, untouchable. Someone laughed bitterly. "With what? We barely have weapons." Eli pushed himself to his feet, swaying. "We don't need to destroy it," he said. "We just need to keep it here." "How?" another demanded. Eli was already walking. They followed him instinctively. The path led deeper into the hub, past sealed doors and warning signs, toward the old maintenance control spire, an ugly structure the Dominion barely used anymore. "What's in there?" the scaled alien asked. Eli stopped at the door. "Engines," he said. "Power routing, gravity anchors." The insectoid's replacement, another of its kind, smaller, wounded, clicked nervously. "Human, that system is integrated with the station." Eli nodded. "I know." Understanding spread slowly. Too slowly. "You can't," the furred alien said, "if you overload it." "The command ship won't be able to jump," Eli finished. And the station, someone whispered. Eli opened the door. It won't survive. The room beyond was tall and narrow, filled with glowing columns and humming machinery. Energy flowed through transparent conduits like rivers of light. Eli stepped inside. Hands grabbed his arm again. You don't have to, the scaled alien said desperately. We'll find another way. Eli looked at them. At beings who had been prisoners minutes ago. At fighters who had never chosen war, only survival. At some point, he said softly, someone always does. He pulled free and sealed the door behind him. Inside, the noise faded to a distant roar. The machinery hummed louder, almost alive. Eli limped toward the central control column. His hands shook as he placed them on the interface. Command ship, he whispered. You're not going anywhere. Outside, the prisoners pounded on the sealed door. Inside, Eli began rerouting power. Warnings screamed, systems protested, heat flooded the room. His skin blistered where energy arced too close. Override denied, the system intoned. Eli laughed weakly. Yeah, he coughed, I get that a lot. He tore open the final panel and reached inside, ignoring the pain as raw energy burned into his hands. The command ship above shuddered. Its engines flared, then stalled. Across the station, prisoners felt the shift as gravity anchored hard. The Dominion ship was trapped. Eli slumped against the control column, sliding down to the floor. His vision dimmed. Through the sealed door he could hear shouting, then cheering, then silence as understanding reached them too. He pressed his forehead against the cool metal. Worth it, he whispered. Far above, the Dominion command ship fired its weapons in rage. But it did not jump. And the station did not fall, yet. The battle was not over. But for the first time, the Dominion was the one trapped. And one human had made the choice that forced it. The control spire burned. Energy screamed through broken conduits, flooding the narrow chamber with blinding light and heat. Warning tones overlapped until they became one long, broken cry. The air shimmered, thick and choking. Eli Mercer lay against the base of the control column, barely conscious. His hands were blackened, skin split and raw where power had torn through him. His chest rose and fell in shallow breaths. Every nerve felt like it was on fire, yet strangely, the pain was fading. Not gone, just distant like thunder moving away. That scared him more than the pain ever had. Above the station, the Dominion command ship tried again to jump. Its engines flared bright blue. Then they failed. The gravity anchors Eli had overloaded bit deep, locking the massive vessel in place. Space rippled around it like water struck by stone. On the bridge of the command ship, Dominion officers shouted orders that no longer mattered. Consoles sparked, readouts flashed red. Disengage anchors, one screamed. Impossible, another replied. System integration has been corrupted. For the first time, the Dominion felt something unfamiliar. Helplessness. Back inside the station, prisoners watched through cracked viewports as the once invincible ship hung frozen above them. Cheers erupted. Tears followed. Some fell to their knees. Others embraced strangers they had once feared. They did not know who had done this yet. They only knew the enemy was no longer untouchable. Eli stirred as another tremor ran through the spire. A voice crackled through the failing speakers, weak, distorted. Human Mercer. The evaluation intelligence. Its projection flickered into existence across the room, unstable and fractured. Its once smooth form now looked torn, incomplete. You have compromised strategic dominance, it said. Eli forced his eyes open. Good, he whispered. The intelligence drifted closer, struggling to maintain coherence. This action ensures your termination. Eli smiled faintly. I was never betting on surviving, he said. I was betting on you not. The intelligence pulsed, almost angry. You are one. Eli closed his eyes again, exhaustion pulling at him. That's where you're wrong. Another explosion rocked the station. Not internal this time. External. The Dominion command ship fired, blindly, desperately, at the station's outer ring. Massive cannons tore chunks of metal free. Entire sections vented into space. Inside, prisoners screamed as gravity failed in bursts, bodies lifting before emergency fields snapped back on. The station was dying, but it was dying slowly. Slow enough. In the transit hub, the prisoners had organized themselves without orders. Engineers, alien and human, worked side by side, rerouting power, sealing hull breaches, guiding others toward escape shuttles. A furred alien shouted, "We can't save everyone." A human pilot replied, "Save who you can, that's enough." Someone else yelled, "The command ship is charging again." Fear surged, but it did not paralyze them. They had seen what one human could do. That changed everything. Back in the control spire, Eli felt the floor tilt beneath him. The structure groaned, metal tearing as the station's orbit began to decay. The intelligence flickered violently, station integrity failing. Eli chuckled a weak sound. "Told you not to leave your systems connected." "You will perish," the intelligence said, its voice losing clarity. Eli opened his eyes one last time and looked at it. "Yeah," he said, but not quietly. He reached up with trembling fingers and pulled the final manual lever. The one the Dominion had never expected anyone to touch. The spire's core went critical. Not an explosion. A release. A massive surge of energy ripped through the gravity anchors, sending a shockwave into the command ship above. Its engines overloaded. Shields collapsed. The ship lurched. Then slowly, impossibly, it began to fall, pulled by the station's decaying gravity well. Across the system, sensors lit up in disbelief. A Dominion flagship was falling. Prisoners watched in stunned silence as the massive vessel drifted closer, scraping against the station's broken superstructure. Then it hit. The impact was like a god striking metal. The collision tore through both structures, releasing a blinding flash visible from orbit. Shockwaves rippled outward, scattering debris like stars. Inside the control spire, Eli felt weightlessness. Then nothing. When consciousness returned, it was dim and soft. Eli floated. Not in space, but in darkness held by something warm. He opened his eyes slowly. Emergency lights glowed faintly around him. The spire was gone. The walls were twisted wreckage. Fires burned in pockets, casting long shadows. He was not alone. The furred alien knelt beside him, holding an emergency med unit against his chest. Its eyes were wet. "You stayed," Eli whispered. "We couldn't leave you," it said. Eli tried to move. Couldn't. His body was beyond its limits now. He felt it, a deep, quiet certainty. "Did it work?" he asked. The alien nodded, voice shaking. "The command ship is destroyed. The Dominion fleet, they're retreating." Eli smiled. "Good." Outside, through a shattered viewport, he could see stars again. And beyond them, escape shuttles burning bright as they fled. The alien hesitated. "Human, we can still try. There may be a way." Eli looked at the wreckage around them, at the failing systems, at the distant glow of fires. "No," he said gently, "this is my stop." The alien bowed its head. Eli's breathing slowed. He thought of Earth again, of rivers and skis and quiet nights, of how small one life felt and how heavy it could become. As his vision dimmed, he whispered one final thought. "Tell them we didn't win because we were stronger." The alien leaned closer. "What then?" Eli's lips barely moved. "Because we refused to stop." The light faded. But far beyond the dying station, something new had already begun. The Dominion had fallen into silence. And the galaxy was listening. The station did not survive the night. From a distance, it looked like a broken crown drifting through space. Fires burned without sound. Debris spread slowly, glittering like false stars. What had once been a place of fear and control became a grave and a marker. But the people did survive. Escape shuttles scattered across the system, overloaded and damaged, carrying prisoners who were prisoners no longer. They landed on moons, hidden worlds, abandoned outposts. Wherever they stopped, the same story spread. Not loudly, not with speeches. Quietly, the way it always began. They spoke of a human who said nothing during roll call. A human who did not shout, did not threaten, did not beg. A human the Dominion marked as priority one, and still failed to stop. They spoke of Eli Mercer. No one called him a general. No one called him a hero at first. They called him the reason. The Dominion fleet withdrew from the sector within hours. Not because they were defeated in battle. Because their command ship was gone. Because their systems failed in ways they could not explain. Because fear, real fear, had entered their calculations. In war rooms light years away, Dominion strategists replayed the data again and again. One human, unarmed, silent. Every model failed to account for him. Every projection ended the same way. Loss of control. Update threat doctrine, one high commander ordered. Another replied, voice unsteady, how do we classify this type of human? Silence followed. Then a simple answer appeared on the shared display. If human remains quiet, withdraw. Weeks later, on a cold, rocky moon with no name, a memorial stood. It was not grand. Just a simple marker made from salvaged metal, bent, scarred, real. Around it gathered beings of many shapes and sizes. Some wore bandages, some stood on crutches, some leaned on each other for balance. They had all been there. They had all lived because someone else chose not to leave. A furred alien placed a small object at the base of the marker, a piece of burned metal, a fragment of the control spire. This was where he stood, it said softly. A scaled engineer added, he didn't order us, he didn't command us. A human woman, her arm in a sling, spoke next. He just showed us that fear wasn't the end. They stood in silence after that. Not mourning, remembering. Eli Mercer did not become a symbol overnight. Symbols take time. At first, the story changed as it traveled, details blurred, names shifted, but one thing never changed. The silence. On another world, a Dominion patrol surrounded a group of freed prisoners. The prisoners did not attack. They did not speak. They stood quietly. The patrol withdrew. On a mining colony, a Dominion governor demanded surrender. A human stepped forward, said nothing. The governor fled within the hour. The Dominion began to lose worlds not to war, but to doubt. Far from the front lines, on a small green planet with blue oceans, a message finally arrived. It took years to reach Earth. The signal was weak, broken, rebuilt by countless relays and hopeful hands. When it reached human space, it carried one story. Not a call for revenge. Not a cry for glory. A warning. They are afraid of us when we do not break. Human leaders listened. Some wanted war. Others wanted peace. But all of them learned the same lesson. Strength was not always loud. In a quiet archive, far from any battlefield, a historian recorded the final entry. Eli Mercer, Terran, civilian by birth, soldier by necessity, rebel by choice. He did not defeat an empire with weapons. He defeated it by refusing to behave as expected. His silence forced the enemy to listen to their own fear. The historian paused, then added one final line. This is why humans are dangerous. Long after the Dominion collapsed into smaller, weaker factions, long after treaties replaced chains, children of many species asked the same question. Why did the aliens fear one human so much? The answer was always the same. Because he reminded them of something they forgot. What? That power only works when everyone believes in it. On a distant world beneath an open sky, a river flowed slowly and wide. No one knew why a small marker stood nearby, facing the water. It had no name carved into it. Only a simple message, etched in careful lines. He stood, so we could move. The wind passed over the water. Quiet, steady, unstoppable. And across the galaxy, whenever a human said nothing, someone listened.